When the first dust devil rose off the plains that evening, Elijah Boone should have taken it as a sign to fold his hand and ride home. But he was a stubborn man, stubborn enough to stay in a game he was already losing and stubborn enough to stake what little he had left of his battered pride on one final draw. The saloon in Dry Gulch was thick with tobacco smoke and the sour smell of stale beer. Men gathered around the table, their boots tapping nervously on the warped floorboards. Elijah's face, bronzed by sun and weathered by years of riding cattle trails, was calm but his heart hammered. His eyes flicked to the girl standing silent behind the dealer. She was slight, barefoot, hair braided and tied with faded red cloth. Her eyes were dark as midnight and glared at the men like they were snakes circling a rabbit. Her wrists were bound with a frayed leather cord. The dealer, a fat man named Grady Bellows, spat into a tin and shuffled the deck. "One more hand, Boone," he sneered. "Put up something real this time, or take your sorry hide back to your cattle." Elijah stared at the girl. He didn't know why she was there. He didn't know her name or her story, only that Grady claimed she was a Comanche captive ransomed off a trader's wagon a week ago. The thought made Elijah's stomach twist. He placed his father's old revolver on the table, the only thing worth anything he owned, apart from the battered roan tied outside. Grady grinned, yellow teeth gleaming. "Throw in the girl that... If I win, you ride out of here naked and I keep your gun. If you win, you can have the girl. She's more trouble than she's worth anyway." The girl's eyes flashed with hate, but she didn't speak. Elijah looked at her, then at the cards. He knew he shouldn't. A man with a ruined marriage, no children to carry his name, and an empty ranch had no business winning people like prizes. But something in him, maybe the ghost of the man he used to be, made him nod. He drew his final card. For aces. By dawn, the sun rose over Dry Gulch with Elijah Boone riding north toward his lonely cabin. The girl rode behind him, clutching the saddle horn, silent as a grave. He'd cut her bonds as soon as they'd left town. She hadn't tried to run, not yet. They reached his cabin by midday. It wasn't much, a single room of timber and stone, half-finished fences stretching out toward the dry riverbed. No sign of life but a few skinny chickens and the old roan grazing in the corral. Inside, Elijah poured her water. She didn't drink until he backed away and turned his eyes to the window. "What's your name?" he asked. She watched him warily, then answered in accented English. "Tahu. Tahu." He nodded, rolling the word on his tongue like a prayer. "I'm Elijah Boone. You're free here, you understand? I ain't got chains for you." She didn't reply. She stared at him like she was measuring him for a coffin. That night, he built her a bed in the corner, near the hearth. He made his own bed on the floor by the door, just in case she decided to slip away in the dark. But she didn't. By the third day, she'd begun tending the fire, sweeping the dust, mending the ragged blankets. She never spoke unless he spoke first. Her eyes flickered over him when she thought he wasn't looking. On the fourth day, he found her outside at dawn, crouched by the corral fence. She was humming to the roan, her fingers brushing its nose. "You like horses?" he asked. She shrugged. "My people. Comanche we ride. Always ride." He leaned on the fence beside her. "Your tribe gonna come for you?" She lifted her chin. "If they know where I am." They knew by the fifth dawn. Elijah woke to the sound of hoofbeats like thunder rolling off the plains. He stumbled to the door, rifle in hand. Outside, a ring of mounted warriors encircled his cabin. A dozen, maybe more, feathered lances gleaming in the early light. Tahu stepped past him, barefoot in the dust. She called out in Comanche, her voice sharp and urgent. The leader, an older warrior with scars down one cheek, dismounted and approached. His eyes cut to Elijah, then back to Tahu. They argued, Words Elijah couldn't follow but whose meaning burned clear enough. She pointed back at the cabin, at him, at the horses. The older warrior spat in the dirt and barked an order. Tahu turned to Elijah, her eyes soft for the first time. "My father," she whispered. "Chief Iron Wolf." Elijah's gut clenched. "He wants to take you back?" She nodded. "He says you stole me." He laughed, bitter, hurt. "Guess I did. Or maybe I won you." She touched his arm, lightly. "They will kill you if you stand in their way." He looked out at the circle of warriors. He saw it clear. His cabin torched, his roan stolen, his bones left to bleach in the sun. And for what? He couldn't even give her children, couldn't give her a name worth carrying. But something deeper rose up, something he'd buried with his wedding ring in the dry soil out back. He squared his shoulders, stepped forward, and spoke slow and steady. "Tell him I ain't got nothin' left but this place and you. If he wants you back, he'll have to trade fair." Tahu's eyes widened. "Trade? What trade?" Elijah smiled grimly. Tell him this place, my land, my horse, my gun, everything. He can have it. But I keep you." She stared at him, stunned. Then she turned and spoke to her father. Iron Wolf's face softened, only slightly. He barked an order. A young warrior rode forward, tossing a sack at Elijah's feet. Gold coins spilled into the dust. Iron Wolf spat in the dirt again, then gestured to Tahu. She stepped forward, placing her hand on Elijah's chest. "My choice," she said, loud enough for the warriors to hear. "I stay." The Comanche rode away as the sun climbed higher. Elijah and Tahu stood together, watching the dust fade. She leaned into him, her small hand clutching his shirt. "Why?" she asked, voice trembling. He brushed a lock of hair from her face. "I ain't got kids, Tahu. Ain't never gonna. Doctor told me that long ago. Wife left after that. But maybe a man can still have a family. Not by blood. By choice." Her eyes shone. "You choose me." "I choose you," he said. The weeks that followed were hard as stone. They worked side by side, mending fences, digging a well, coaxing vegetables from the stubborn dirt. Tahu taught him Comanche words by the fire at night. He taught her how to shoot his old revolver. They fought sometimes, over a fence line, over salt that spilled, over a stray calf. But at night she curled beside him on the narrow bed. She'd tuck her cold feet against his legs, her breath warm on his neck. Sometimes he'd wake to find her watching him in the moonlight, like she still couldn't believe he was real. When spring came, the rains filled the riverbed for the first time in years. They built a small barn for the roan's new foal. Elijah caught Tahu standing in the doorway, hand resting on her belly, staring at the foal like she was dreaming of something bigger. "I cannot give you sons," she said quietly. He smiled, wiping sweat from his brow. "I know. And still, you keep me." "Still." One night, years later, a stranger rode up to the cabin. He found Elijah and Tahu sitting on the porch, a Comanche boy asleep with his head in Tahu's lap, a foundling they'd taken in after his mother died in childbirth near the river. The stranger asked, "Are you Boone? Man who won himself a Comanche girl at cards?" Elijah smiled, his arm around Tahu's shoulders. "Nah, I reckon she won me."